Good time, everyone. This is the 12-Bit Pod, where we talk all things games. I'm your host, Austin, and with me today is my favorite boss, Kate, who is the promotions assistant for Wider FM. Do us a favor, you're already on the website. Go check out and listen to the station live. So, boss, what game are we talking about today?
All right, get ready. I've been playing this one very recently. We're talking about Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, thank God. I think I can talk about this one the most. Okay.
I know.
So for those of you who don't know the gimmick of the show is I bring on a guest every week, usually my favorite boss, as I've been saying. And they will, and I won't know what game we're talking about until we hit play, like right now. And that works out great. So I'm just giving a couple options of what could be happening because I got to be a good host.
Yeah.
And then okay, so Jedi Fallen Order. Yeah. Why do you want to talk about this game specifically?
I have been playing it recently, and one thing I love about it is that I didn't think it was a game that I would enjoy playing so much. Just to give some background on the game, it's like it's like a Souls-like game. So Dark Souls.
Yeah.
It's like boss fighting, and you're rolling around and you're slashing, but there's also story, and it's like very linear, but also not in a way.
Yeah. Okay. So I do want to get into that because can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I love Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, I love it.
The worst part about it is unfortunately the combat because I do not like. I mean, it's still great. The combat's fluid. It is like the Dark Souls combat is amazing for a reason. People love those games for a reason. I don't like it though.
Well, now we gotta argue. We start screaming.
12-bit special episode. Hot takes only.
You can't hear anything. We're screaming into the mic.
No, because okay. Again, I love the game. I'm halfway through it because I keep playing it on and off again.
Okay, so that's good to know because I don't want to spoil anything.
I already know everything. Also, hey guys, you guys are listening to a podcast where we talk about video games. Spoilers ahead for everything.
For this, there
obviously,
will be spoilers.
I gotta talk about some things.
There's a lot to talk about.
No, okay. Here's the thing, though. Sequel that's coming out later is moving from the Dark Souls kind of combat system to the Ghost of Tsushima combat system.
That's really exciting.
And here's the thing about that. Ghost of Tsushima is possibly one of my favorite games of all time. I love it so much.
I love the combat in that. So when I said it's a Souls-like game, I didn't think I was going to enjoy it. It's because I don't like the combat style in the Souls-like games. I think it's clunky. I think it's slow, and I just don't like it. But while playing Fallen Order, I was like, this is fun because I can just deflect blaster bolts. I can throw my lightsaber. I can twirl around and do some cool stuff. So I actually really enjoyed the combat.
Yeah, I would like to point out none of the things she said are necessarily Souls qualities. They're just being a Jedi.
They're not Soul qualities,
no,
but
which I think is why the new system's going to be great.
Why I like it.
Have you played Ghost of Tsushima? I know that's kind of like a PlayStation classic. Okay,
we're
gonna fix that at some point. It has possibly one of the best melee combat systems I've played.
Gotcha.
I did a whole thing about it on the 8-Bit Hour, which airs every Wednesday morning, 11 to noon, and you guys should check that out. It is the sister radio hour.
Shameless plug.
Look, this is a plug to 8-Bit Hour, and 8-Bit Hour is a plug to this.
True.
And then it all goes through widerfm.org, the best website I've ever been on. That's just how it works. No, but I talked about it this week, or week of recording. Ghost of Tsushima is great. Because it's you have one sword, you're not changing the sword, and it works great. And then you basically change how you fight, and that you start out with here's the sword fighting method of fighting. Here's the shield, and then you get shield fighting method of fighting, and that does better for shield guys, but not as great for the others. And then you have spear and just your brutes.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna do that, but with style of lightsabers.
I like that because another thing I liked is you had one weapon essentially in Fallen Order. You had your lightsaber, and you could do stuff with the Force. You could push people. You could throw people off cliffs, the edges. That was another fun thing. Is I was just and I just knock them.
When you can gently push them.
Gently push them, and oh, there they go.
Yeah.
But again, I enjoyed the combat and the playing it and it was very intuitive. Like, I mean, I was really bad at first, actually. Like, I got stuck on a spot that I shouldn't have been stuck at.
It is a Souls-like game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's to be expected.
So I had to change the difficulty at one point because I kept dying. And even on the respawn screen, it was like in a little, like, small bit. It was like, you can change the difficulty settings, like, kind of mocking me in a way. But
how dare I will beat you, game. Yeah. No, which is the real cool thing, right? Because you have a lightsaber, but lightsabers are like kind of famously very diverse. You
do all sorts of things.
You have like the standard original trilogy protagonist samurai sword style thing, and then you have the double bladed saber, and then you have like the more Ahsoka Tano, Asajj Ventress double bladed stuff. And I feel like that was like the one thing we were missing, because like the force powers, we get quite a few of them, and they're all great, at least for like mechanically what they do. You're giving me a face. Do you not think there's enough force powers? Because like obviously,
oh no, with the force, I didn't use the force powers a lot. I'll be honest with you. I only started using them like near the end because I'm achievement hunting this one. Like this is the first game that I'm like, I'm gonna 100% this. So I'm nearly there. I got 5 more to go, but I think you get the double bladed lightsaber. And it's really cool because Cal essentially takes apart the lightsaber into like the double bladed style, but uses it in different ways. So like you can throw one saber, you bring it back, and then you go, essentially just bringing down with both sabers.
But I want to like full main double bladed. I want to be Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, because obviously those moments are really like getting those combos and all that is amazing. But also I want that all the time.
Yes.
And I think because they specifically said that they're going for a Ghost of Tsushima style of gameplay, that's what they are going to do. I think it'll be like you'll start out with very simple one bladed, and then you'll probably get like 2 bladed, and then that's going to be really good against like. Like probably guys with shields or whatever.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that.
Have you seen a lot of the we are talking about the main game, but like also it's a sequel, it's a series.
It's coming up. Like there's a lot of anticipation. I haven't seen any. Gameplay.
I saw like a little bit. It looks like we're gonna go to some sort of like droid world and just fight a bunch of old Clone Wars stuff. Yeah, there's like these repainted like super battle droids and stuff I've been seeing.
I'm excited for more of the Clone Wars, like delving into that, because when I started playing this game, I did not know when it took place.
Yeah.
I kind of went into it not knowing really much, and when I kind of got to that point where I was like, oh, like Cal is a Padawan essentially, and survived Order 66, and it was really interesting. And like, you would go explore a place, and there's these echoes that you can like sense, and you get a little bit of story on what happened in that area, and it would show, like clones and I was like, whoa, okay, wait, this is clone armor, and putting the pieces together, it's really fun putting the story together.
And you said you beat the game at this point, right?
I beat in the game.
Because you're achievement hunting. Nobody does that the first round.
Yeah.
I don't think. So it should be noted that when we were talking about it earlier, you're very much new to Star Wars.
Very new.
Like, she doesn't have a favorite clone yet, guys.
I don't have a favorite clone.
It's okay. It'll come down to like 3 choices.
I know. I just started season 2 of the Clone Wars, so I'm just getting into.
But that. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say just getting into like the prequel lore and stuff.
But I will say though, this Jedi Fallen Order does one thing that like no other like series I feel does, which is it acknowledges all of the Star Wars canon properties.
Yep.
Like, you meet a character who is just like an homage to like the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Our favorite goth waifu, Meridia. It's like a kind of weird to pronounce name, right? She's just an homage to like a lot of stuff from Clone Wars. Like her backstory is just like a 5-episode arc from the Clone Wars, and like her homeworld is fleshed out in the clone, like a lot of that, and you get like, and then obviously you see you're gonna like Saw Gerrera, Clone Wars character, also Rebels character, also Rogue One character, and you get to see that like, look, they're the bad guys, like. Like, they're doing morally bad things to fight against the Empire. And you get a lot of that, especially, like, on Kashyyyk when you interact with Saw Gerrera. It's like, like, which is, it's so great to have a Star Wars thing and acknowledge that the rest of Star Wars exists.
Yeah, so another thing I like about it is it has these little homages to the Clone Wars, but if you're like me going into this game and you don't really know, like, the bare bones of what happens in the Clone Wars, it's very, like, you don't need to know that much at all to enjoy the game and to enjoy the story. I super enjoyed the story without, knowing that these characters were in the Clone Wars. And that's another thing I love about it, because I feel like sometimes there'll be like character like shows up and everyone's like, whoa, it's this guy and you gotta know this guy. And you feel like, you're,
well, I just did that to you twice.
I know, but like you feel like you're not included. But when I was playing the game, it felt like, I just loved playing as this new character, Cal. That was just one of my favorite aspects, and just kind of exploring the world as this character.
I feel like that's worth noting too, right? Because I feel like a lot of the stuff that's been coming out recently is like, we gotta have it connected to a big thing, right? So I mean, if you look at like The Mandalorian, which I don't know if you watched yet, like baby Yoda, Grogu, very very like, that's like, come on, it's
But there's a lot of like stuff for the fans, and and not a lot of new fleshed out characters, and
right.
I love getting a fresh new character.
Cal's honestly, it's like he's not like some S tier writing, but like he's a solid character. He's enjoyable. He's quippy and has emotions. And
I used to hate Cal. Well, I didn't hate him, but when I first started playing, I was like, "Who is this goofy dude?" I was like,
"Soybean boy."
Yeah, I was like, "Who is this guy? He's so goofy."
Like, he kind of grows on you, right? Like,
he really grows on you.
Him and his silly ponchos.
Now his silly. Oh, dude, he's got a pink poncho.
Poncho's better. I want at least one poncho.
I know.
In the new game.
If there's gotta be.
Like, I think it'll work real well with his new beard he's got going on.
When I saw that he got a beard, I was like, who is this guy?
Also, like, I think they're gonna add like laser like gunplay, because he's like has a holster.
Blaster. He has a blaster.
Which I think would be really fun. Because obviously, like, lightsabers are cool. But like, if you're gonna give me laser guns, like, let me use laser guns.
Well, it's kind of like what's her name? What's the former Jedi?
Oh, not Talia and not Reva. Those are both very different. Characters. I know who you're talking about though. You
have to like.
Yeah, you do that, and I will talk about how much I would just love to see, because like, okay, in Star Wars, right, so much focus is given on the Jedis, obviously, because like they're like the centerpiece, right?
Of course.
Which is probably why everything I love about Star Wars is not really focused on the Jedi. Like, Clone Wars is very much the clone show, and Rebels is very much this found family thing.
Yeah.
And Kanan and Ezra just also happen to be Jedis.
Yeah. They just happen to be Jedis.
They just happen to be Jedis. Kanan's character is old married man who loves his wife and children and is just grumpy. The Jedi thing is just kind of there. But no, I think adding lasers, especially because like the combat system is fluid.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming they're going to take a lot of that fluid mix between force, lightsaber, and then add a third element being like the ranged blaster.
Yeah, so I looked up the name. It's Seer.
Oh, we were wrong. Yeah, that was
we were.
Yeah. We don't gotta talk about it.
But near the end, she has a lightsaber, and she uses the lightsaber and the blaster.
I want to do that. It's
so cool. So I feel like that's kind of what you're talking about.
I want that. Yeah,
like we're gonna get that essentially.
Yeah, let me do that. Just
let me do that
specifically that,
because it's really cool.
It is like no, it's like 5 seconds too, and it's also just like one of the coolest fight scenes.
It is, and you're like watching it through the window, and you're like,
Also, it's nice to watch something through a window that that you don't want to stop, because if you're looking at guys, I don't know if you played video games before, but if you're on the other side of a glass wall, that means something horrible is going to happen on the other side of the glass wall.
Why would you tune in if you haven't ever played video games before?
I don't know, like
guys, if you haven't
look, maybe they just love Whiter so much.
Maybe.
I mean, this is a voice built for radio. I've heard myself on air, and it's not a bad voice on air.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, right? Like, I don't know. That's just a cool little thing. Because, like, every video game, if you are behind glass something,
it's going to be
something terrible is on the other side. Whether
it's
get
a watch.
Yeah, whether it's like an action adventure spy political drama with like Deus Ex, or it's like a horror game with like the first Dead Space. It doesn't matter. If there's glass, something bad is going to happen.
If you can't get over there, you just gotta watch it. Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, we joke about that, but like, no, that's just fun. Yeah. It's a fun little scene. Also, like, she doesn't have the force at that point. Like, she doesn't have the that's the whole thing. It's like, yeah, you have to do this because like trauma, bro.
Yeah.
And like it is cool to see like what just like the lightsaber stuff can do, because like, you know, especially when we got into prequels, it was like, yeah, let's focus on the force, and then we weren't focusing on the force enough, and then we kind of oversaturated a little bit.
Yeah.
I.e. a lot of the problems with the we don't gotta
we
shouldn't talk about it.
We don't gotta go that way.
Let's keep that off air. Yeah, obviously, all the stuff we talked about. What draws you to it though? Because you're very much like a Star Wars noob, but why did you pick this game?
So it was gifted to me actually for Christmas, by a friend of mine's.
Situationship kind of deal. Yeah,
an ex, but
hey, solid taste in video games.
Still, yeah,
and partners,
not a
and
bad
then they ruined
person.
it.
Literally not a bad person, but they got me this game as well as Stray, the cat game.
So this man does have just like I'm sorry.
He does have taste.
Yeah.
So the Stray was on my wish list. So that was nice.
That is also a really fun game.
Fallen Order was not, and I didn't really know anything. And I did like 2 or 3 years ago. Like he played it, and I watched him. And it's funny because I got to the point that I remembered him playing, and I was like, "This is the spot." Anyways, I got it for Christmas, and I was like, I'm gonna try it out because, you know, I like Star Wars and I've been wanting to get into the Clone Wars. So I start playing it, and it just grabbed my attention. Like it was something that I wanted to keep playing. And games, like, it's really hit or miss if that happens. And I think that's why I was so shocked, because I would have never bought this for myself.
Yeah, no, I do feel people just tend to like games that we didn't get for ourselves. Like,
yeah.
Like when I'm gifted a game, that is usually a game I latch onto pretty strongly. So I get that.
Yeah.
Is there like any other games like Star Wars games you got into afterwards?
Not afterwards.
Or like, is there other Star Wars games that maybe like set expectations for Fallen Order?
Definitely not. Fallen Order was like really the first game that I played on my own. I played a teeny bit of Squadrons, but that's kind of a different like.
Squadrons is fun, but I'm also the nerd trying to get 100% on Project Wingman. It's a niche thing.
And I played a bit of Battlefront 2, but that was like, you know, like afterwards.
The new one, I assume, because we were talking about the old one before shooting, and like you didn't know.
Didn't know anything.
Also, if you don't know about the old Battlefront 2, you're missing out.
But anyways, I would play like the 4v4 like in Battlefront 2, and that's fun because I just like, you know, like shooting dudes and using the lightsaber. It's just fun.
No, the new Battlefront 2, despite its problems, is actually very enjoyable if
hack and slash.
If you kind of focus on the multiplayer aspects of it.
Yeah.
Although I'm a little upset they didn't add like any of my characters I like to it, but that's a whole different thing for when I invite somebody else to talk about that game. Okay, so is there when you played Jedi Fallen Order, it's in a very oversaturated era timeline wise.
Yep.
Because so much stuff happens in the between 3 and 4.
Yep.
You have, Star Wars Rebels. You have Andor, Rogue One, Han Solo. Like 12 games.
Just like a bunch.
There's so
of
much stuff. And I have my own thoughts about how I feel this interacts with that. But like, how do you think that fits in between the most overdone part of Star Wars?
I think it was kind of smart of them to, again, back to the original character, to do an original character. I think that it's very difficult, it's very oversaturated, like you said. There is so much going on. It's kind of like, we don't need another story going on.
Literally give us anything else.
But the fact that they did a story as well as they did with that, like, I'll give credit to them. I think it fits with Cal's character, and I don't see it taking place in another time.
Yeah, that is definitely accurate. For me, obviously, between 3 and 4, whether it's because it's oversaturated or just a lot of stuff that happens is bad, because it can't all be great.
Yeah.
Star Wars is very either like S tier or F completely, and that's just how it is with a lot of franchises. But
I love
it. I was honestly being like, okay, I'm gonna enjoy like some of the characters and like combat, and then like the main storyline and all this is just gonna be like the most mid thing ever.
Yeah.
And like honestly, by the time I was really getting into it, I was like invested.
Yeah.
Even though, like, just fundamentally, we know how it's going to play out to a degree.
It plays out.
I'm glad it didn't play out how I originally thought it was going to play out.
Yeah.
Real happy about that. Yeah. But definitely there is that sort of like, hey, we actually found one that works.
Yeah.
Because there's, again, so much stuff between 3 and 4. You have the Force Unleashed games, which are simultaneously the best and worst. You have like 6-8 books, something like that. And like, so for me, it's like the things I actually care about that happen in between 3 and 4 is like, I like Bad Batch and I like Rebels.
Yep.
And Rogue One is really cool for like the last 40 minutes when it's just straight up like World War II.
Oh yeah. Again, it's like difficult because you're like, well, there's so much happening. But the cool thing is that it's such an interesting time in the story because it's a confusing time. And that's with Cal's story is he's like, he doesn't know what to do at this point. And he was in hiding for so long.
That is a lot of it. A lot of Cal's story is very much what we've been seeing lately with like Bad Batch, where it's like, the universe has changed, not for the better, but also what are we doing about it? Yeah,
how do we stop this?
And I think Cal, the ending. Hey, we said there was going to be spoilers. This is where we're going to get into spoilers. I think the ending for Cal, I think, is really interesting because like every other Star Wars thing, it's like bring it back.
Yep.
Luke tries to bring like. Luke, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Kanan, Ezra, all the Jedis are like, no, we're just going to rebuild it, guys. We're just going to rebuild the Jedi Order. The mentor lady is also very much like, we get this, we rebuild the Jedi Order. Cal's like, no, we're done.
What I love about it is that he's debating like throughout the story because he's first following Seer, his mentor, kind of, the whole mission was we're going to find these Force-sensitive kids and try to rebuild. But we get to the end and Cal goes through a whole, like, he sees the future and what could happen and how these kids could be targeted. And they're so young and it's why should they go through this? And he decides not to go forward with this and not to risk it, and basically saying like, if it's meant to be, it'll happen. If we're meant to meet these Force sensitive kids, like it'll happen.
Yeah, I think that also works really well, because like okay, so character dynamics are everything in this game, honestly.
Yep.
Whether it's between the Night Sisters and Cal and like the Jedi and like. I don't know, because like the Night Sister thing, I think for me, kind of jumped from ending to like early game, mid game.
Yeah.
The Night Sister thing for me felt like almost a critique of when people say that like the Jedi are these horrible, awful human beings, like these Illuminati types that you can. Because like the prequels don't paint them in a good light.
Yeah.
For a reason, because that's his tone.
Yeah.
And then a lot of fans are like, no, these Jedi are awful. Honestly, Order 66 probably wasn't the worst thing. It's just the Emperor took place after.
Yeah.
I feel like I know some friends who are like that with Star Wars and all that. And like, they have their faults, but they're human. And I think the Night Sister thing was kind of addressing that in a way. Obviously, again, Night Sisters is basically just an homage to a bunch of episodes from the Clone Wars. You're not there yet. I'll try not to get too much into it.
Yeah, don't get too much into it.
But also, the person she blames for, like, she's like, oh, the Jedi came and destroyed my home and killed everybody I loved. That also wasn't a Jedi. And I don't think Cal acknowledges that at any point.
Wait, really?
No, the Night Sisters aren't killed by a Jedi.
Were they killed by?
Well, I can't say because it's like a whole
spoiler.
It's like a whole 2-episode thing.
We got
and like I don't like the fans. I mean, they know what they signed up for, but I'm not gonna. No,
there's Malicos.
No, you like.
But he didn't destroy all the Night Sisters.
Obvious. No, it's not Malicos because Malicos is the guy in the game. He's not to blame. He's just some dude who showed up afterwards.
He's just a dude who showed up and took advantage of them.
Which is strange because like in a matriarchal society, some white dude ended up becoming the boss. I don't know how that worked out, but okay. Weird.
They were desperate. Desperate times call for desperate.
Yeah. No. Because like Cal kind of acknowledges like honestly could have been a possibility. Like the war's whack, bro. But also. We can do better and we need to do better because these are dark times and we have to kind of hold up, which is really sweet. Honestly, all their character interactions are sweet.
I love them.
If they're not a couple in the next game, I'm going to be a little upset.
I would be a little sad because when it goes near the end, like...
It has couple energy, right?
It really does because she runs up to him and, I'm not like,
Like, we're not shipping. Like, it's just like...
shipping and I'm like, oh, like the man and woman, like... they're.
I'm the opposite of that. I was a part of Super Hulock as
oh my goodness.
I'm hard into shipping.
Oh no.
But no, this one like just feels right. It's
right.
Cute. Clearly that's where this relationship is going.
I think they could take it something like if they went easy with it, and I'm glad they didn't do anything in this first game.
They don't complete it, but it's like we're very much in the early stages of that.
The hint of it, of this bond that could
which works
happen.
Really great.
But another thing about character interactions, when there's kind of a period, if you're flying to a different planet, so you can fly to multiple planets, you have like 5, I think, you can go to. And there's like this period while you're like in hyperspace and you'll have like just character interactions. So you have Grease, who's the one who owns the ship and is driving. And then you have Seer, who's like our mentor, like ex-Jedi. And what's the Night Sister's name? Do you know?
It's something with an M.
It's something with an M.
It's like Meridia. Like it's something like that. Yeah. And then obviously she joins after.
She joins later. But they have these little like banters and they like talk to each other. And it's just like a subtle, nice character interaction during just a loading period.
When I talk about character interactions, I will like the bar for me is the Mass Effect series.
Yeah.
And like it's not Mass Effect, but to be fair, very little could be Mass Effect.
Yeah.
But it's close.
It's close.
The characters feel authentic. They have relationships. Yes. They interact with each other even without Cal, and like talk to each other.
Yeah.
It's nice, and it feels. Like these are people who are doing things when Cal is off being
they're like
a protagonist.
They're like a little family.
Good. It feels great. Yeah. Also, the ship I like the ship, which is not a thing I tend to like. I don't like most Star Wars ships. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh really? With you. I'm kind of like a ship nerd. I think just like space, like
I love spaceships. I definitely love spaceships. I don't like most of the Star Wars spaceships, like the Millennium Falcon. I'm kind of iffy on
the Frisbee.
I'm not a fan. Like,
I think it's fun.
It's real on the line for me with the Millennium Falcon. I like the X-wing. I don't like any of the Empire ships.
I love the X-wing. I'll say I don't like the iconic. Empire ships. But
no, nobody likes the TIE fighters
because they're so fun. They just like open up and they're.
Yeah, they have that kind of They have like kind of a like obviously a lot of stuff has a World War II kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
But something about X-wings just like makes me want to get into a dogfight.
No, really, that's not to circle back to like a different Star Wars game, but like, you know, like
All
playing
of Star Wars is connected.
or
It's
whatever.
gonna happen.
Like being able to do the little ship dog fighting, it's fun. Yeah, the ship in Fallen Order it has like a little charm. It looks cool.
It has like clutter and stuff. Like
It's
there's
clutter.
Like, people live here.
People live here. It's like lived in, and in
His
the
little
terrarium,
just like
just cute little.
This man lives on a ship.
features.
This is not just a ship. It's his house.
His ship.
He's gonna have house things.
And that's a big part of Grease's character. Is like this is his ship, and he loves his ship. Like it's a part of him.
Which I feel like is a requirement for any of the Star Wars pilots. They got to be a little obsessed with their ship.
They got to be obsessed. They have to be ship junkies.
Whether it's Anakin with any of his like three ships,
goodness.
like
Anakin.
his family van he gets in the Clone Wars.
The family van.
No, because like obviously we're gonna detract for a second because it's funny. But Anakin is when it comes to his vehicles, it's so funny because in the Clone Wars he gets that like basically family minivan ship with the movie the one that you saw that he's usually with Ahsoka with.
Yeah.
And then also he just has his like Jedi Starfighter that's like his Ferrari.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Right?
It's like it was like a little racer, like Ferrari, like fancy.
Like when the children aren't around.
That's like he's the only one who gets to go in that one.
And in Grimes, oh god, I'm so bad with Star Wars names. He definitely has that like he cares about it to that level, which I think is kind of important. Also, I love the fact that the meditation circle is just kind of like in the base, like
there, and it's kind of funny, but it's just there.
Yeah. But also, it's like in the most inconvenient spot because, like, like
you have to go all the way to the back of the car.
You have to like go down ladders.
You have to like. Okay, we're like over exaggerating, but it's still like when you're like you have to.
I'm pretty sure there's a ladder. Like you actually
there isn't a ladder, but it feels like it. It's like.
I don't know. It's been a minute. I beat it a while ago.
It's very slow because you're like you can only walk in the ship.
But it also just feels like there's a new person, but also it's a small ship, so like I understand you got to do your Jedi thing, but like we're putting you in the back by the engine room.
You're in the back. You can have your circle and your table. Okay, just to like talk about another part of the game, which this is what hooked me from the beginning. Customization, and it is so subtle, but it's something that I love in a video game, and oftentimes my favorite games have some sort of like you get to build a base or you customize your character, some type of personalization. And when I found out you could customize your lightsaber,
right,
and the absolute joy of trying to find chests and trying to unlock more things is what really kept me going and what pulled me to like get into the story. Because when I'm searching for chests, well, I'm also finding these like I have to sense these echoes and learn about the story and find secrets. And it's so fun, and it's not too much where it's like, you know, a million ways to customize, but it's like a nice little touch to add to the game.
I love customization of any kind, whether it's, you know, customizing your guns in whatever a Tom Clancy or Fallout game you're playing, or it's customizing like character outfits. I love customization in video games. And I like in lightsaber, again, one of the most iconic weapons in the history of ever. And like there's been a lot of variations of it because it's had a lot of like, you know, people who do that sort of thing. But to see like, and not like it's not gonna like change the stats or whatever, but like you can really just add your own personal touch to it.
I love it.
The color and like it's not just the color either, which I feel like is nice because I'm pretty sure the other game that has lightsaber customization being Force Unleashed is like you can change your color. And then you can change and then you can just use somebody else's like lightsaber handle. Which is like it's fun, but fun, also
that's all you get to do.
Like let's trick out this car, you know?
It's like you're going to like Star Wars, the place in Disney World, anyways, where you get to build your lightsaber, but it's a lot of like already like, oh, this is like Luke's hilt, you know? Yeah. And the fact that there's like just new different things, and you have parts that are from characters in the game, like you're following the story of Eno Cordavia. I think is how you say
And you
his name.
kind of collect his parts, don't you?
You collect his parts.
You can also definitely remake some of the like you can probably fairly easily because you get like the weird handles that like Count Dooku has and Ventress has, and like they're like, it's not going to change mechanically, but also that lightsaber is going to be your version of Cal's lightsaber.
And I love it. I love that you can add your little touch to it. And it's so fun. It's just, I mean, I have a fully purple lightsaber because it's my favorite color. And, I have a purple kyber crystal, and the metal on my lightsaber is also like a light purple. And it's just fun,
I went basic. I did kind of like a gold and like silver look.
I started with like a copper, black.
Yeah, because it's like one of the ones, it's like they kind of give you that for free.
They kind of like give you that, and with like the orange saber. So if I were to like be like, in my mind, Cal's saber is orange with like that kind of,
Although I will admit, Cal seems like a very blue lightsaber kind of dude. Like
I see him as an orange lightsaber.
Well, obviously we got to make him our own, but like I don't know. Cal again, kind of our basic boy, definitely has like a blue lightsaber.
True, he's pretty basic. He's
except for his ponchos. His ponchos are on point.
When I got that pink poncho, I was slay. Cal was slaying.
I like the first poncho you get because it looks like something he made on that scrap world.
I know, it's funny.
It's like, oh, you poor boy, this is like mediocre needle skills, but like it looks great on you.
It's yours. It's your personal
I actually don't think I switched out of that first poncho.
Well, I love that. That's great.
Yeah, I'm like that sometimes. It's like, no, this is what the character wanted. He's stuck with it.
This is what he wanted. This is what he would have wanted.
This is the thing the game gave us. Clearly, this is what they intended for. I don't care
even though there's like 20 other options.
Oh God, there's so many. There's so many options. Yeah, and like honestly, I hope we see more of that in the next game.
Oh, me too.
Because like, if we are going to, okay, so my general theory is, again, if we're going Ghost of Tsunami gameplay, that means we are going to get like basically, instead of like 4 fighting styles, we'll get 4 like lightsaber customizations. And I do think one of them is going to be like lightsaber and blaster.
See, okay, here's the thing is one thing I did see was now instead of just having the whole like hilt that's just like, how he pulls it apart, he leaves half of it in his little like holster and takes one half out if you want only one side. So I'm wondering if you can have like one part of the lightsaber and the blaster in the other hand sort of situation.
That is what I am thinking is like, I think that's going to be like, maybe like it might be like either early game or like late game, but like,
yeah.
I think they're gonna go because like what we've seen is a lot of like old like Clone Wars kind of stuff.
Yep.
This kind of scrapyard field, the droids, obviously. I think that it's going to be like, yeah, you can switch from one lightsaber if you're doing like boss fight stuff, against other like Jedi and that sort of thing. And then also I think like at some point that we're just gonna throw like 50 stormtroopers at you, and like a blaster's gonna be real nice.
Yeah,
and it'll be kind of like, maybe it'll be like focused on like quick attacks and like kind of stunning them with lightsabers or like opening them up and that sort of thing. But no, I'm just really, and I think my heart's gonna break a little when it's not what I envision it to be. But
I know, but well, I'm just like excited for it to come out.
Because I think this is the one that's gonna become my obsession. Because like Jedi Fallen Order, fundamentally being based around games I don't like, and still like beating the game like 1.5 times.
It's like, that's why I wanted to talk about it, is because like this is not a game that I would have played. Oh, God, no. I would never see myself playing a game like this, but then I played it and I got into it, and now it's one of my favorites, just out of nowhere, essentially.
Yeah, and out of your 3 options, though, I think this is the one that was kind of second, maybe. I don't know. I think it would have been cool to talk about Subnautica.
Yeah, I know.
Like I said before, Kate gave me 3 options, so that I would be somewhat prepared. Even like Iron Chef, like obviously it's got to be a surprise, but I also have to know what I'm going into.
Exactly.
Because like if she was like, hey, we're going to talk about,
something you don't even know. Like
I can't talk about Persona 5.
Like, and it wouldn't make a good podcast, there wouldn't be any back and forth.
Anyway, though, I was excited to talk about this one, especially since the new game's coming out.
Yes, exactly.
Especially since it's like probably one of the best Star Wars games we've had in a while.
I think it's one of the best.
Like Battlefront 2
Special place
is very
in the
much
heart.
the mod, like kind of the, it's very like Battlefield, obviously, because it's made by those people. And it's very like squad based and like very gun focused, which I do like. I don't feel like the normal people get enough love in Star Wars. So I will happily be
the random dudes.
Yeah.
Like the funny name. The names make me laugh when I play that game though.
like we got to give the love to like
It's
the
like-
Porkins
like
and the
Ben
others.
Carver. Like you just shot Ben Carver.
Yeah, no. And then we obviously had Squadron, which feels that kind of very like original trilogy feel
Yeah,
of like
and just like
yeah,
flying
Jedis are cool,
around.
but also this is a movie about dogfights.
You're gonna dogfight. It's definitely a game if you like that kind of like dogfight, like flying combat, you know.
No, yeah, but, like I don't know. That is the thing about the original trilogies. They feel so like World War II ship focused.
Yeah.
X-wings feel like like
Little
aerial
jets.
combat really just feels like the original trilogy's thing, especially in the first movie. But I think that's like a
aerial
set piece thing.
combat.
Oh, it's so great. The game I am 100%ing right now, and this is totally off topic. We've been so bad about keeping on track, but like I've been playing this game called Project Wingman. It was made by 3 people.
Yeah.
Some of the best aerial combat I've ever played. Like I'm playing it on hard mode, and I'm trying to 100%. I don't do either of those
I
things.
see you on it. I'm like, what's this?
I'll show you two sometime. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But this is a game that I'm 100%ing, and I've never really sought to do that. Like to go like get all the achievements.
If you are not okay, I'm gonna explain this for people who for some reason are listening to this and don't play games. Most games nowadays come with achievement. They're little things to show to your friends that you beat the game or you did this ridiculously absurd task. Like,
Yep.
I don't know, carry
only
a gnome.
1% person did it, you know.
Carry a gnome through one of the hardest chapters of a video game ever.
Yeah.
Basically making you unable to fight anything and ultimately ruining your friendships. I haven't been playing Left 4 Dead.
What
I
is
would
that?
never stab my friends in
What?
the back for an achievement. Never. Anyway, I definitely did that. Me and that gnome were the only ones to make it out
I
of that
throw
fight.
a game to get an achievement.
I've probably done that too. But no, achievements are basically just like little it's a little badge and it's usually like a funny little name.
It's just nice, like if you have that kind of collector, like completionist mindset.
And a lot of people, or there's a lot of like achievement hunters who will only play games for achievements. But normal people are just like, I've collected a couple little things to show to my friends.
Yeah.
And then so for normal people who are like, I'm 100%ing this game, I think that really just shows the level of like love they have for it. Because like, I don't 100%, I don't play most games. Normal is like what I care about a game.
I agree.
I'm playing games on easy and normal. I'm never touching hard. I'm not doing like random challenge number 5 unless I love a game.
Collect all 108.
Every person I talk to who's played Jedi Fallen Order is like, look, man, I know I've beaten it twice, but I got to go one more time to beat it on to get the last 2 achievements.
And there's one achievement where you have to you unlock every chest, every secret, you fully explore all of the maps. And there's one planet that is large and it's not easy to navigate.
Which one?
Zepho.
Oh yeah, Zepho's
Everyone
awful.
it was like they're like, oh my god, Zepho. I didn't have that. I didn't feel like it was too hard to navigate, but it can be a pain to backtrack.
I will say, I don't mean to detract.
Oh, you're good.
But I also kind of want to get into the other, because we've been focused a lot on combat. I want to get into the exploration and the wall climbing, that sort of thing. Because I
love it.
So great. I have my thoughts on the combat. I have no complaints about the
Same, and I really want to talk about it.
The map is one of the worst maps I've ever. The map is not good.
The map is not good. It's very hard to navigate and to look at, and you have to. There's different levels, and it's
so bad, right?
And you can't just if you go far away of looking in the map, you can't just instantly go back to yourself. I don't think you just have to track back.
It fits the Star Wars aesthetic.
It does. But
it's also just an awful map.
It's such a pain. So you can. The fact that I 100% explored every planet in this game with the awful maps and no way to difficult to navigate without looking up a guide. I did this without a guide. It really shows just how enjoyable it is to explore, despite, you know, the the awful map system of how, you know, it's not easy to like backtrack a lot of times.
No, also just like using the Force for puzzles is just fun.
It felt like I was playing like Breath of the Wild or something, like a Zelda dungeon.
A lot of those actually, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
A lot of those dungeons have that kind of Breath of the Wild feel where you have to like use a mix between your agility and your force, and also like just problem solving. Because there's some fun ones, especially like the ones where like the puzzles are like, you got to be the raddest parkour, my dude.
Yes.
Like, we need you to open this vent so it'll launch you so you can do.
Yes.
Okay. Another. Obviously, with this game, there's a lot of inspiration from like your Breath of the Wilds, your Dark Souls, like other Star Wars games. Yeah. The wall running is straight out of Titanfall 2. It's so good.
It's like what I love is that they just took these aspects of other games and just kind of like put them in their own game, and it makes it
right?
so fun. It's so fun to just. The movement in the game.
The movement is so good.
So fun.
Again, especially like when you have to wall run in these dungeons and like bounce off walls.
Yes, wall run, and then you have to use the force to pull onto like a rope, and you gotta swing. And I just hit the mic. Whoops. Sure. But yeah,
the movement's so good.
It's great.
Yeah. Is there any world you specifically like to move around in?
I
hear a lot of people like Kashyyyk.
Kashyyyk is very fun to go around.
Because like all the trees and stuff.
There's the trees, and you bounce off these like big plants. So I would say Kashyyyk is the most fun because it's very focused on that sort of parkour and just kind of more taking you somewhere with the wall running. Because when you wall run and you're going in a certain path the game wants you to go. And that's a lot of what happens on Kashyyyk. Whereas like Zepho, it's so easy to get lost.
We don't gotta talk like.
But one thing I do love about Zepho is they have kind of like an elevator system. They have a central hub. And it's like the ice caves, and there's elevators, and you just gotta figure it out.
Also, Kashyyyk is pretty cool because we get to drive an AT-AT in Kashyyyk.
Yes, I love the opening.
Also, Saw on a lot of stuff happens on Kashyyyk. One of the better one of the fun boss fights happens on Kashyyyk.
Yeah.
With what? It's the fifth sister, right?
Yeah.
Fifth sister, who's like super big and brawly,
beefed out,
and like just finishing that fight with like.
It was like I had like one nugget of health, I think.
Yeah. No, I really like and I think I've accidentally transitioned us from the movement, which is amazing.
And then about back to the combat.
I mean, hey, it is. I mean, that's just a credit to it. But like the boss fights feel very like. It's Dark Souls focused, but if you're fighting stormtroopers or like even vehicles, you're a Jedi, and then fighting the sisters is such a tonal shift. There is
it's such a shift.
There's like a dual mentality to it.
Yeah.
Like obviously Star Wars has its roots in samurais and westerns and like the World War II stuff, and like fighting the sisters feels like Two Samurai, which again is probably why Ghost of Tsushima is going to be their inspiration for the next game. Given it's a samurai game, but like stepping into basically these rings because it's always ring.
Like a ring. You go into it, you're like, I'm gonna.
We're on top of a tree for some reason. There's a perfect circle. This
is where the boss fight's gonna be.
Yeah. And it feels like, especially when you end the fights, because especially on the Kashyyyk, because like you cut off her arm, and it's like. Which is because she's like the meanest one out of all of them.
Oh, for sure. She's just
and we're just like
there's no saving that.
Yeah. Also, it's also super depressing.
It is.
It's kind of depressing for some of them.
Okay, to go back onto the sort of not to talk too much about the combat, but I love how it's a total shift. Like there's different fighting styles for. You know, you have like these beasts, which are just like some extra little like mini bosses, sort of like,
or just filler, so you're not fighting filler.
Yeah, you're just like a big like creature that you fight, and it's like, oh, you take it down. They all have their different ways of attacking, so it's not like you're doing the same exact strategy. You always have to learn how to fight a certain enemy.
Also, even with like stormtroopers, there's quite a bit of variety.
There's like you got flamethrower, you got rocket launcher, you got
like the riot guys, the Sith purgers, and they all like
purgers, yeah.
I don't know if this is necessarily intentional, but to talk about the other overpowered Jedi video game, Force Unleashed, they made an effort to add characters where like, yeah, hey buddy, if you rely on lightsabers, that's not the plan.
That's
and like,
not gonna really work.
And I think they do that really well, where it's like, yeah, if you want to fight certain characters, you're gonna have to do different things.
You're gonna have to
and you
learn
have to mix it up and
block and all sorts of.
Which is upsetting because I like throwing lightsabers at people.
I mean, that's what I did most of the time.
It balances gameplay. It changes it up. And I like it when like the changing gameplay isn't just for like boss or set pieces.
Yeah.
But like just characters you'll find.
Yeah.
Because a bunch of stormtroopers, that's just fun to tear through. But like throw a Jedi purger or whatever they're called, and like it just adds a whole nother level.
Adds a like, oh, this guy's gonna be a bit more difficult. It's more of like different levels.
You can't use your lightsaber on him or things like that.
Yeah,
and for some of them,
you have to like actually think, and it's fun to like hack and slash, like go through it. But that's the fun thing of having the stormtroopers, because you can kind of do that with them, but you still have more difficult fights that you do.
Okay, since we are kind of getting towards the end, I feel like we got to talk about probably the best set piece in the game, which is the finale with Vader.
Oh my goodness!
Because it's so good.
Will tell you. So I'm lucky, I guess, because I didn't get spoiled on this. And when I saw it, when the Vader happened, I was like, bro,
because there's no. Like,
there's no forewarning. There's nothing.
They don't even mention anybody that isn't the sisters.
There's nothing that would make you think that an encounter with Vader would happen. But when it does,
it's so good. It is.
Pooped my pants, basically.
We were talking about how Rogue One is probably one of the better, like in my opinion, the better Star Wars films.
Better movie.
At the end of Rogue One, when everybody is screaming and running from Vader, and it's like, oh yeah, Vader's a threat, guys.
He's scary.
He's terrifying.
And they make him to be terrifying.
You can't fight him. It is only run. You can't even getting close to him is just a KO.
And they portray it like that. Like when you're playing it, it's scary. You're running for your life essentially, and you're barely scraping by at the end because it was you can't fight him.
Well, at that point in the game too, right?
Yeah.
Sierra, whatever. Seer. So
that's probably your long name, honestly.
Yeah. Seer gets a lightsaber and a blaster and starts wrecking house.
Yeah.
She does not have the Force. She has a lightsaber, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right. She was a Jedi Master at one point, and like she earned that.
She did.
And then she gets like yoinked by Vader. And like, it's just we should be scared.
And then that's when the tone shifts of like, I mean.
Well, also he kills the Sixth Sister and all that, but like,
exactly, but like.
And you hear it creeping
when you get to like, if you just didn't know who Darth Vader was somehow,
but like,
if you didn't, you would have that sort of like, oh boy, like that's a threat. That's something we can't fight.
Yeah.
And it's just that the ending, I loved that. Like it was. The
game starts with a chase scene and it ends with a chase scene.
Yes.
Which is like the weirdest hero's journey status quo thing ever. But also the fact that like you're running away from Vader is just like.
I love how it didn't end in like a big boss battle.
No, it didn't, because like even Tali's boss fight.
Yeah.
Talia.
Yeah.
I've been playing a lot.
Wait, no, isn't it Tilla?
I don't know. I'm playing
Trilla.
Sorry, I've been playing a lot of Mass Effect, and Talia is like one of my favorite companions. So I'm getting them mixed up. But Trilla, that's not like it's like a big boss fight. A big boss fight in the sense that it's like the final boss fight.
Yeah.
But she's kind of like, at that point you realize that things have been going on without you. Yeah. And she's just also like, I've messed up, and and she's, what does she say? Save us, and then Vader just.
Yeah, she's like, or like avenge us or something.
Yeah, and then, which is so good.
And it's just.
She reminds me a lot of Reva from like the Obi-Wan show. Yeah. There's a lot of that, like obviously one came first, but I see a lot of that in there. So if you have seen that show and haven't talked about the game, that's kind of Trilla's character, except she's just full bad.
But she's full bad, but she has a little bit of like
and like sympathy because she was like you find out her story and like you get it,
and she's like you can sympathize, but there was really no changing her until that very end where it was
the end.
It was the end,
and
oh man,
when's the next game's coming out this year, right?
Yeah,
it's like May 6th, something like that.
It's April. It's like April 26th, I believe. It was going to be March 17th, but then it got pushed back.
A lot of that happens. You know?
I mean, I'm okay. I don't want
the amount of sequels coming out this year. I'm gonna be broke.
Oh, for sure.
Because we have what Jedi Fallen Order, obviously, or Survivor is what they're gonna call it, which hyped for. Then you have Breath of the Wild 2 coming out.
So hyped.
So hyped. Oh gosh. And then there's a
good year for gaming.
It's gonna be a good year for games.
It's like we've
already started the year off strong. Dead Space and there's another game that came out recently that
Dead Space is really good.
I'm a big fan of this.
I love a good gaming year because you kind of have like these periods where you have like.
We haven't really had like
the right years.
I don't feel like we've had like a year of just like obviously there's usually like a really good game or two every year. But like we haven't had that like 2009, 2008 of like everything release is going to be the pinnacle of gaming, and it really kind of feels like this year might be that.
This year is feeling up for it. I definitely kind of had that with like maybe 2017, but just because we had the release of like the Switch and
the Switch brought a lot of good that can be an episode for a different day. But
whenever there's a new console, there's always like that. You have the
rush to be the icon of the new era. Anyway, it has been a pleasure talking about Star Wars, however off the rails we got with that.
Oh, yeah.
Kate, why don't you end the podcast for us?
Oh, I don't know how you end the podcast.
Just do whatever feels right, boss.
Well, thank you all for tuning in to the 12-bit. Is it 12-bit?
12-bit pod, yeah.
12-bit pod. I didn't want to say 8-bit pod.
That's my radio show, boss.
That's
a different
I was getting
thing.
It confused.
Also, you can check out the 8-bit hour.
Also, speaking about the 8-bit hour.
11 to noon, right? Yeah, it's 11 to noon.
It's your show.
I have a clock for everything. Okay, boss, we don't get it.
True.
Okay, sorry. I interrupted your send-off, boss. Go for it.
But thank you all for tuning in and hearing us ramble on about our little special interest called Star Wars. I hope you all enjoyed. And I mean, I feel like I'm not good at like signing out.
I got you. I can wrap this up for you,
You're
boss.
like a pro.
All right.
But it's been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure here on the 12-Bit Pod. And you know what? If you like the show, you can check out all of the other great shows. Pop Effect, if you like kind of this style of vibe, I feel like Pop Effect is going to be great for you. All on the website you are currently listening to this too. And don't forget to check out the radio show, because guess what? We are a radio station, and we're a pretty good one at that. So until the next episode, see you then.